Hey guys, it's Kaitlyn. Hope y'all are doing well. I'm going to go ahead and apologize for my dog. He's kind of running around here. He might start barking. So if you hear him, I'm sorry. Hope y'all are doing well. So I'm doing my internship at a state-run mental health facility that is a residential facility for individuals with intellectual disabilities. And this ranges from profound intellectual disability, where they have to have all of their activities of daily living taken care of. Some of them cannot communicate, that kind of thing, to borderline intellectual functioning, which is just above that 70 IQ, which is the point of where they are diagnosed with ID, and the borderline intellectual functioning, the ones that the facility serves, has other disabilities that qualify them to live there. So the facility is a campus, and there's many different departments that make up this campus, like nursing, direct care, and then the one I'm interning in, psychological and behavioral services. There's 11 what they call cottages. Those would be kind of like your units, if you're familiar with that in most mental health facilities. They're divided by gender, and they're also divided by level of care. 4 of them are female and the rest are male. There are also 11 community homes throughout North Mississippi, and these also are divided by gender and, once again, level of care. There is one community home that is co-ed. They have Prader-Willi syndrome. If you don't know what that is, I highly suggest you look it up. It's a chromosomal deficiency that the chromosome that tells you you're full, tells you you're satiated, they don't have. And they will eat and eat and eat and eat and eat until they die. It's a very, very sad syndrome. But they have very low muscle tone and a very low sex drive, so they're able to live together. It's a very interesting disorder, one that I hadn't come across before now, but I highly suggest looking it up, Prader-Willi syndrome. Anyways, so on this campus, like I said, I'm interning in the psychological and behavioral services department. It's made up of behavior specialists, or BHSs as they call them. These individuals are responsible for certain cottages and making sure that behavioral needs are taken care of. They do evaluations and testing, and they, based on these testings and observations and things, they write behavioral plans, and many of them include counseling. There are also psych techs, and these are individuals who work with the BHSs, and they take a lot of data. There's a lot of data collection to make sure that things are running the way they're supposed to be running, and to kind of gauge how their behavioral plans are working and how medication is working. There's also a psychiatrist that comes in once a week and works with medications. There are other students besides me that are interning there as well from different universities. And there is a new team called a functional communication training team, and they're there to teach communication, because a lot of the individuals on this campus are on the autism spectrum. So many of them do need higher levels of support as far as communication goes. So it's a pretty big department, and it's been very, very interesting working there and kind of seeing how things work. When I first started, I kind of did a lot of shadowing and watching, and went to all of the different buildings and kind of just dove right in, I guess you'd say. But now I've kind of taken some of my own clients, and I'm going to talk to you about one today. So we're going to call him John, and he is 47 years old. He is non-ambulatory. He also has cerebral palsy, which is a physical disability. He is unable to move either of his legs, and he really only has some movement in his right arm. I know he can use his hand, but his left he doesn't really use, and he can move his head around and stuff. And he's also he has severe intellectual disability, and he has he has major depressive disorder. It was changed just recently. Major depressive disorder. He has a very, very interesting background. A lot of the clients there do. But working with him, I've developed a relationship with him, and it's very interesting, his background. So he was in his 20s. He was still living at home with his mom and his dad and his sister, and it was his sister's senior year of high school. And he knew that she would be going to college. So he started talking to his parents about finding him a placement somewhere, because he knew that they were going to be unable to take care of him, and he didn't want them to hurt themselves trying to lift him, because his sister did a lot of that when he was growing up. And so he was very thoughtful, thinking of his parents like this. So they visited a lot of different facilities, from what I understand, and he settled on the one he's at now. He visited a classroom. They do have educational classes there. They have like a life skills class that's very, very basic, trying to teach them how to do very basic activities of daily living skills. And then they have what I would say the equivalent of that would be like elementary school, and then they would have like the equivalent of a middle school, just furthering skills and going on community awareness trips and things like that, learning how to use computers, and doing things like making beds and things like that. They have that. And then they have a higher level where they do work, like breaking down boxes and shredding papers, and still expounding on those daily living skills, trying to make sure that they keep up with those, and also teaching them math skills and things like that. So he came and visited one of those types of classes one day, and he was talking to the teacher, and he just said he felt like this was going to be his home, and he has been there ever since. Like I said, he was 25 at that time, and he is now 47. So he's been there quite a long time. So a little bit more background on him and why he gets counseling. He's kind of got a rocky family relationship. From what I understand, he doesn't like to talk about it a whole lot, but from past notes and things like that and observations of the family, his father is not exactly nice to him. So John will sit in a chair like this with his head down, and it's really hard for him to lift up. It hurts. And from what I understand, his dad is very demanding on him to sit up straight and to not drool. And these are two things that are very difficult for him to do. His mother, he doesn't talk a whole lot about his mother, except that, he really enjoys when he gets to go home and see her. I know his dad, like I said, he's very hard on him. It's kind of rocky. I know that it was one of our first sessions. He looked at me, he said, "Are you going to have to talk to my parents about what we talk about? Are you going to have to talk to my dad?" So he was very concerned about his dad knowing what we were talking about and things like that. So it's kind of rocky. And he does, like I've mentioned, he does have a sister. The sister lives in Florida with her husband and 2 kids. He's met the kids once, I believe. And he said that they're around 8 and 6, so he hasn't really got to spend a lot of time with them. I know that he longs to have a closer relationship with his sister. He has mentioned that she is afraid of the client population, so she doesn't come, and she does use an excuse that since they can't use Skype, they can't talk. I have asked him if he's tried to call her on the phone, and he said that he wouldn't know how to do that. So, anyways, the family situation is pretty rocky. He also lives, a background on how he lives at the center. He lived in a non-ambulatory cottage that was geared more for more medically fragile clients. He lived there for several years. He had a roommate that he really liked in there. The roommate, from what I understand, did not really like him, though, but he thought they were friends. He lived there for several years, and just recently he was transferred to the other male non-ambulatory cottage that is for a lot more active guys. So it's a lot different. It's a lot noisier. There's a lot more activity going on. Also, unfortunately, the staffing situation is not ideal. They are very, very short-staffed. So he's not getting a whole lot of staff interaction like he was used to getting. He has preferred people that work on that campus that aren't in the building that he likes to go see, but it's been difficult for him to go see them because there's just nobody to take him. So, also with his physical disability, he has to go to physical therapy several times a week, and that he doesn't really like to do that. He likes the interaction he gets with the physical therapist, but he does not really like to go do physical therapy. So he doesn't have a behavioral plan. Like, they write behavioral plans for different behaviors quite yet. He just got the diagnosis of major depressive disorder. So his behavioral specialist, his VHS, will be writing a plan to help address that. He will more than likely also go on medication for this, but I have been working with him in his depressive thoughts. I'm just going to kind of give y'all an overview of what we've been working on the past few weeks. When we first started, I did a little intake with him, and a lot of his depression seems to revolve around loss of control. I'm not really sure. I've looked in his background, but haven't been able to find a lot if he ever was able to move his arms and legs. But he feels like he doesn't have control of his life. He doesn't have control of his choices. He has an electric wheelchair, so theoretically he can wheel himself wherever he wants to, but he's not being allowed to do that because of the short staffing situations and the fact that they have to keep an eye on him. He also, I forgot to mention this, he also is he has pretty bad diabetes, so he does need extra care for that. But a lot of his depression is not being able to call his parents when he wants to, not being able to go to his room when he wants to. He feels very smothered by the other clients, and like he just doesn't have any control. So part of the stuff that I'm working on with him is teaching him his rights. There are rights that the clients have, and I feel, and my supervisor does as well, feels like that he needs to know his rights so that he can speak up for himself and advocate for himself. So we're working on that right now, just teaching him what he has the right to and all of that. Another thing that he seems to be very depressed about is his lack of friendship. He is higher functioning than anybody else, probably on the whole campus. He has the diagnosis of severe intellectual disability, but this is due to more so his physical limitations, keeping them from being able to fully test him. His IQ when he came was somewhere around 80. So it was not in the ID range at that time. He has a very confusing background. I'm not really sure how he got to be there. But anyways, he's very high functioning and he can carry on a conversation just like me and you, just back and forth. He is also very, very caring and compassionate. He is very thoughtful of others. Like I said, the whole reason he's there is because he didn't want his parents to be hurt, regardless of the relationship he had with them. So he has a lack of friendship because he can't socialize with his peers or the other clients because they are so far below his functioning range, and he does talk with staff, but it's not the same as having a real back and forth friendship. So one of his goals in counseling is to identify meaningful relationships, because he always says, I don't have anybody to talk to, nobody wants to talk to me, things like that. So what we have challenged him to do is to find at least 2 people on every shift that he can talk to no matter what, that he has developed a relationship with. So far, he's come up with 2 on one shift. So the next step was going to be to develop relationships, to seek out those relationships instead of waiting for them to come to him. He needs to go to them. Anyways, I've kind of gotten off what I was saying about his depression. He also feels like he's stuck, and he is. He's stuck in a body that doesn't work and a body that he can't do anything with. So I would imagine if I was in that situation, I would probably feel very similar to him. But I've never been in that situation, so I don't know. So another goal in therapy we've been working on is just to think about all the things that he gets to participate in that others don't. He gets to go on a lot of trips. He just got back from a wrestling trip or something like that. I don't know. He gets to go on a lot of trips and stuff like that. So I am teaching him a lot of gratefulness things, I guess you would say, to try to remind him that it's not so bad, and trying to show him that he has friends and things like that. So I had the idea, and I kind of want to run it by y'all, see what y'all think. He's very concerned with his sister. He doesn't get to talk to her. And it causes him to be really sad, and I get it. So I had this idea, since she doesn't answer the phone or he can't get in touch with her, however this is, to write her a letter. Yes, I understand he's not actually going to be able to write it, but if he can dictate what he wants to say, and maybe I can write it for him, or his behavior specialist can write it, just to kind of get his feelings out on the page and be able to send it to her. I'm not sure. I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't know, because I don't know if he'll get his hopes up thinking he might get a response, and if he doesn't, that's going to cause his depression to spiral. I don't know. I just thought I'd run it by y'all and see what you think. Also, because there is limited physical mobility. I've done a lot of behavioral activation techniques, getting him out, getting him talking to other people, but because of the physical limitations, I'm kind of at a dead end with the behavioral activation. So I would just kind of wonder if y'all had any thoughts, how you would go about helping him with his depression, since he's in this facility. It's residential. He's not leaving, and he's still going to be stuck in a building that's not suited for him, and a body that's not suited for him, he thinks. Spiritual aspects, he hasn't really opened up any about anything spiritually. I'm not allowed to bring it up. If he brings it up, we can talk about it, but I haven't heard him say anything about it. Anyways, so I just wanted to know your thoughts, and if you had any suggestions or ways that you would go about it, let me know. Thanks.